Hello and welcome to a new video, and today we are traveling for 24 hours with the Excellence Empress. And here on the sea map you can see our route today. We are going from Kiel to the lock of Iffezheim and back to Kiel. That was not the original plan. We were supposed to go from Basel to Breisach and back, but that was changed due to a strike of the operators of the locks. But we started as planned in the morning in Basel at the station SBB, at the Swiss station, and the buses of Excellence picked us up there and brought us to the Vitra Design Museum, which was the first stop, already part of the cruise. 24 hours. Excellence is a concept to learn a bit about cruise ships. Is mostly directed to people who have never done a river cruise before, but also of course open for everyone. And it starts with an excursion to this design museum in this case, which is quite interesting. The furniture of Vitra is very expensive, so nothing that I could afford, but it's still very interesting to see what you can do and get some inspiration maybe. So this is also interesting if you do not plan on buying something. And they do not only have this building, this main building, but there are also several other buildings, some of them even built by some famous architects. So it's also very interesting if you like architecture. And they have a big outdoor area, big park, like you can see here, very, very beautiful. So you can even just go for a walk there. So I really enjoyed the time there. They also have this viewing tower. You shouldn't be afraid of heights if you want to go up on it, because as you can see, you can look all the way down through the steps to the floor. So if you're afraid of heights, maybe it's not the best idea to go on that tower, but otherwise it's pretty cool to go up there, especially because you can go down with a slide, which is quite fun, and we will of course do that. And here you can see me going down on the slide. Not only for children, so everybody can go there, and it's quite a lot of fun. So why should I do all the work and walk down if I can take a slide? And here we are back at the interesting main building. As you can see, quite nice architecture, and inside is also a cafe, which we also visited then before it was time to go back to our coaches. And now we were supposed to go to Basel, but as I said, the locks were on strike, so they changed the program a little bit and brought us to Kiel instead. And if this would have been a German cruise ship, there would have been a lot of complaints, and that is what I like about the Swiss cruise ships. There was just a short moment of everybody being a bit confused about the change, and then they just accepted it. Nobody was angry, nobody was complaining. And in this case it was a big change for such a short cruise, because it means now that we are 2 hours on the highway. But it was received very well. It was the general thought about this was you cannot change it, and it is the way it is, and we're still gonna have a nice time on board. And this is really what I enjoy about people from Switzerland, being just calm and relaxed. And yeah, that's also an atmosphere that you will have on board, and we're gonna see that now, because we are now in Kiel, slowly approaching the docking location. The city of Kiel is in Germany, right opposite of the famous French city of Strasbourg. Here we can see our beautiful Excellence Empress docked next to another cruise ship, which is very common with river cruises. And boarding was very efficient. It took only about 15 minutes, even though everybody's coming at the same time with 3 coaches, and it took only 15 minutes to get everybody in. They just checked for the names and documents, and then they just sent you straight to the cabin. And in the cabin you got all the other information and your cruise card. So that was a quite nice boarding. And now we can take a look at my wonderful cabin, as I booked this quite spontaneously and most cabins were already booked. I had to take a cabin on the upper deck, which is one of the most expensive cabins on board. A bit further in the front are also suites, which are even more expensive, but this is one of the highest cabin categories on board, and we will take a closer look at this cabin now. Here you can see a small desk with power sockets. and then we have a small seating area here, and here you can see the bed. Of course, we have a lot of power sockets available as this is a brand new ship, and we have a French balcony. Here you can see how a French balcony looks like, as the ship's length and width are limited to the size of the locks. We do not have proper balconies as this would take too much space. And here we have the big wardrobe with a lot of storage space, so even for a cruise of 2 weeks there's enough space. In general, this cabin is very, very beautiful. I love the colors. It's very cozy, comfortable, and just in general looking very nice. Here we have some glasses, and below is the mini bar, and on the other side we have some more additional storage space, so that's quite nice. And here we can see the desk again, and now we can take another look into the bathroom, which I also like a lot. Is very spacious and it's cleverly designed, because on most river cruise ships or cruise ships in general you have one cabin next to the other, but here you have a cabin and then you have 2 bathrooms in between those 2 cabins, so that means that the bathroom is not actually in the cabin but between your cabin and the next cabin, and that gives some more extra space. So it's very smartly designed. And then it was time for us to leave, and therefore the ship next to us had to go away as well, give us some space to leave the docking location. And now we're heading north in the direction of the Lock of Iffezheim. Therefore we have to turn, as ships on the Rhine and also on the Danube are always docked with the bow against the current, as therefore the ship is docked a bit more secure, and also it protects the propellers from getting damaged by things that are floating in the river. And that's why we have to turn. And now of course we are not the only ship here in Kiel. There are some more cruise ships, as this is a port that is also used for visiting Strasbourg in France. And so here you can see another cruise ship. This is the Spirit of the Rhine, sailing for a British cruise company, for Saga. And yeah, now we are heading to our first lock, Gamsheim, which we are going through, and then we are turning in front of the next lock, Iffezheim. So my first destination on board was the lounge, where I had a nice drink, nice glass of wine, whilst enjoying this landscape. Of course, this is not the most beautiful part of the Rhine, that would be the Middle Rhine Valley, but still it's just so nice and calming to sit in a lounge, drink a nice glass of wine, having a small snack and watching the landscape that we are sailing through. And now we are already slowly approaching the first lock, the lock of Gamsheim. As you can see, most guests were on the sun deck, so the lounge was pretty empty, which is quite nice. So you have a nice and calm atmosphere there. And here we are now close to the lock of Gamsheim, and now we can see in a time lapse how we are going through that lock. These locks are quite small, some of them are only 12 meters wide. Our ship is 11.45 meters wide, so we only have 55 centimeters spaced in total to both sides. So it's always very impressive to go through these locks. Here you can see us going down already, and now we've reached the lower level, and that means that we can leave the lock now and continue our sailing in the direction of Iffezheim. As I already said in the beginning, these cruises are mostly for people that have never done a cruise before, or have never done a river cruise before. But if you're a ship enthusiast, this is also quite a nice opportunity to see a new ship. In this case, I have never been on board of the Excellence Empress, so that's a perfect way to discover a new ship. And that's way better than doing a ship visit, which sometimes is also possible, but a 24 hours cruise will give you a better impression of what a ship or a cruise company is like. Here we are close to the airport Karlsruhe Baden-Baden, and that means that we're also close to the lock of Iffezheim, so we turned and now we are on our way back to Kiel. Here we can see a bit more of the airport and the mountains of the Black Forest in the background. So that's quite nice about this part of the Rhine. You have on both sides mountains in the far distance. And after enjoying this scenery for a while, it was time to go back to the panoramic lounge. The sun was slowly setting. I was watching the sunset from the front terrace of the ship, very nice place, and then it was time to head back inside as we had the welcome cocktail on board with a complimentary glass of sparkling wine. And then it was time for the dinner, and as you can see, the food lives up to the name of the company. It was excellent. As you can see, it's looking very, very nice, and the taste was very, very good. So food quality on board of the ships of excellence is really excellent. So this was very, very good. And then it was time to head back to the lounge. As you can see, it was not that crowded. I was expecting it to be a bit more crowded on such a short cruise, but again, nice and calm atmosphere. And yeah, after a nice evening with some cocktails, it was time to go to sleep, and on the next morning it was time to say goodbye to my wonderful cabin, and I was heading for the breakfast, which is also very, very nice. You can see the buffet here, and in addition to that buffet you can also order some more items from a menu. And then it was unfortunately already time to say goodbye to this wonderful ship, as the coaches were already waiting for us to bring us back to Basel. So the ships of excellence are mainly for guests from Switzerland, but of course you can also book a cruise with excellence if you're not from Switzerland. It is an advantage to speak German, as all programs are in German, in a Swiss German. So if you speak German, it doesn't mean that you understand everything on board, because the Swiss German sounds a bit different. It's possible but difficult for a German to understand what is said in Swiss German. But it's also possible to go on board if you don't speak German, because the crew does speak English, but of course you will not get a program in English. So that's what you should know about that. I personally love traveling with people from Switzerland. As I said, they are very relaxed and kind people. So I really enjoyed these 24 hours with excellence. And here we are slowly approaching the city of Basel, and that means that these 24 hours are now over. There are several of these cruises this year, and I think there will be some more next year. So just take a look at the website of Excellence if you want to do something like this. The advantage compared to a standard mini cruise of one night is that you have a bit more time on board. So I can really recommend doing that. Of course, if you're living somewhere close to Basel or it's not too much traveling, or of course it's also possible to combine this with some other travels. And here we are back at the station Basel SBB, and that means that this video ends now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link. Here you can see when my next video will be uploaded and the name of the song. And as always, thanks for watching and see you in my next video.